There's a very beautiful line in Savitri. I mean, Savitri is full of beautiful lines. Couple of them where Sri Aurobindo describes the end of the rational curve. That the rational age has done what it had to do, and we are grateful to it for whatever it could give. It was known as the age of enlightenment, though it probably only presaged, or it was a precursor to something else which is to come. And at the end of it, Sri Aurobindo beautifully reveals to us, or else we may find when all the rest has changed, all the rest has failed, hid deep in us is the key to perfect change. So this key is within us, and at several places he reveals that. In another passage, when Savitri has to confront the great enigma of death and fate and destiny, which is nothing else but the enigma of the whole play of forces, the clouds and the storms and the dust and everything else. And she has to find a way out. She goes within to find the way out. In her own being, she found her high recourse. And what is that high recourse? As she sits on the fateful morning and there is fated that Satyavan must die, Sri Aurobindo once again gives us the mantra, earth must transform herself and equal heaven, or heaven descend into earth's mortal state. But for this high spiritual change to be, the heavenly Psyche must put off her veil. Such a beautiful image of putting off the veil. There is a veil in front that Sri Aurobindo, there is a very small letter of Sri Aurobindo where he says, there is a veil behind the heart and a lid above the head. And we should just open these, it's as simple as that. And to Nirodha he says in a letter, he says, all that you need to know is that there is a soul within and grace above. All the entire knowledge can be really translated into these two simple things, truths of yoga, that there is a soul within and grace above. The heavenly Psyche must put off her veil and step into common nature's crowded rooms and stand there in nature's front, stand uncovered in that nature's front and rule its thoughts and fill our body and life. So this is the key to this change, and till that is done, all other attempts, all other processes, all other paths that we may take, and we have taken through God knows how many millenniums, outer means to change things. And of course, in that outer means, we have plenty of them. We have us doctors who believe that they can eradicate disease, and diseases rebound back by the plenty. We only change hospitals, we change paradigms, but we don't find the one remedy which can eradicate the possibility of disease from the human consciousness. Similarly, we have outer means like police and law courts, and of course the priests, the most dangerous species. We turn to the priest outward, and of course sometimes erroneously to speakers to find a way, but that way is within us. And this is what Sri Aurobindo is saying repeatedly, and I sometimes fancy that what will be the sign of a new age really dawning in full bloom, that doctors would shut their clinics and walk out because there will be no necessity. The law courts will be empty. There would be no police stations. And of course, the priest would become a vanishing or a vanished species. Yet, in our present state of ignorance, we do use these means. They have had their limited utility, but we know they cannot carry us far. They have carried us thus far and not further. Therefore, we reach a point where now the gaze of man has to turn inward. Nalnida, while he speaks of the past age and the new age, often we have all kinds of ideas what this new age will be like. And Nalida has a very beautiful, there are some aphorisms that he has written where he says, the age of reason and intellectuality is past. That was the past age. So what is this age coming up? It is the age of luminous faith. Not just blind superstition, but a luminous faith. In an eye that sees, and seeing it walks. It gives us the courage to walk. So this, I suppose, is the inner key, and there could be two. This is again a very personal reflection, that why suddenly psychic being has always been there. There is a mention of it in the Upanishads. It's very beautifully described as that little flame inside whose vision itself is enough to weaken many of the faults and defects in our nature. Antaha sharire jyotirmayo hi shubhro. And at another place it's described as that which the eater of sweetness from the lotus. It's the inner swan which keeps the higher breath upward and the lower downward. It distinguishes, it has that inner sight by which it can separate the right from the wrong, not morally and ethically, but purely from an inner vision. So it has been there since the time man has come. Man's very advent means that there is a crystallization of psychic consciousness which has begun. And that is why in one of her prayers, the mother says that it is this which is the hope, even for the most fallen, because it's there inside. So why suddenly the, Sri Aurobindo is emphasizing it so much in the forefront? For two simple reasons, that psychic consciousness has been there, but it has still been largely an individual acquisition. There have been individuals who developed to a point where the psychic consciousness could crystallize as a psychic being. But over a period of time, through passage of life and birth and rebirth, through many, many millenniums of experience, and knowing that outer things have their own limits and limitations, gathering all the experience of physical, vital, emotional and mental life, we as a race have arrived at a point where collectively a large number of human beings could be experiencing the transition from a little psychic consciousness which is rudimentary to the full-fledged psychic being. And probably that's the reason why there is such a seeking, such a hunger, such a thirst in the heart of the earth, in the heart of this matter at a collective level. And that's one reason why this change is being emphasized, because perhaps the time is ripe when as a collectivity, not just as individuals here and there, the psychic being can emerge.